Greetings, my fellow film lovers, sovereign thinkers. LOT's newest podcast on these Craig transmitted from beautiful Frederick, native South Florida. And today's date, Wednesday, November 7th, 2018. So let us begin. Alright, thanks for calling, my friends. Checking in to be exact. I'm at Dash 109 Southwest 2nd Avenue in the heart of the Hampshire district of Fort Lauderdale, adjacent with Revolution Live and America's Backyard. Well, so the elections is over. It looks like Bill Nelson wants to do a recount. How glamorous. The man who supports a police state platform. We should all hold hands when he walks by and sing God Bless the Patriot Act, right? Yeah, he voted for that. He voted for other bills that were considered unconstitutional. Even though Rick Scott may have won, but I said that's still Bill Nelson's tyrannical twin brother. But one thing I gotta say, my friends, I never lost stress, got crazy, had anxiety attacks, and looking for my Lord and Savior to be in these positions. It's interesting too because about the Andrew Gillum, someone made a statement about a claim. I believe I can say it's true because it happens a lot. That when he won the primaries, because he had a real clean, smooth campaign, he gave people a vision. He terminated most of the members of his campaign team and brought in hacks to run for the general election. And it reminds me of the late Bill McBride done that in 2002. I had a passing individual that passed away years ago, and he told me about this and was really highly critical of Bill McBride's decision. So I call this the Bill McBride syndrome. It looks like Andrew Gillum stepped his own bear trap. So even though everyone's worried about him being governor and doing all these corporate tax hikes and this and that, when I told everyone if Amendment 5 passes, that was a supermajority, 2/3 supermajority vote on raising taxes on the state level, he would have had a big problem. It did pass, so regardless is in there, it's going to be harder for them to raise certain taxes on the state level, which I believe is good. Some people may not like it, but I do say taxation is theft. And the people should make that decision. I do remember the Voter's Approval Amendment in 1998, if I'm correct. And even though I wasn't a big fan of Jeb Bush, but he supported it. And many of the politicians there were crying like little kids because someone messed with their sandbox. Well, that was then, this is now. Well, I'm glad, that got passed. And many of the amendments that were in there, the bundles, I was not pleased with, because you support one or against the other, you have to vote one way or the other, which is, to me, is an entrapment. Referendums, many of them were in there. And the victims' rights is a little controversial as well, too, especially when it comes to the right to getting out and so forth. If it doesn't happen, and the right to protect them, supposedly, it may contradict Sovereign Immunity Tort Liability Act, which is Florida Statute 768.28, which I addressed this on my show multiple times. The Greyhound, it was a dying business anyway, but they said just ban it. And of course, smoking, vaping, and all that in the businesses, they're going to dictate on the state level how people should do their business. I believe in freedom of choice. A lot of places I don't go because I don't have to. Even a lot of places heavy smoke, I don't need to go inside. Who's putting a gun in your head to go in these places? That is the question. That's what freedom's about. And even certain property amendments that we'll dissect some of the basic rights. So it's interesting about if you study the history. So I read some of the stuff in there too. But you know what? That's just how it is. But my natural born rights will never be taken away. So I want to have some fun. I had some fun this past election. I didn't stress out. Some people I supported didn't get in. But I sent a message. Because I don't support established candidates in good faith. And everyone should just start doing their homework a little more. Because, and read the fine print. But it's happening little by little. But more people, I encourage, to do your homework. You got the internet. Utilize it. You'd be surprised what you can do. So I'm going to probably check on who won the local level and some of the House positions in Florida. One senator I'm not crazy about ran unopposed. So he'll be getting some correspondences from me when that time comes. Because he voted yes on SB 7026, which a lot of great point about school safety, but when it came to purchasing rifles from 18 to 21 and 3-day waiting period on the state level, it has to be voted on. That particular language has to be voted on by the people of Florida, not through legislation. It's that area, that language is unconstitutional, null and void, and even the so-called red flag rule too violates due process. Yeah, so that's a tyrannical sympathizer. Many of them in there, regardless if they're Democrat and Republican. That includes flip-flopper Scott. There's a recount for him, which Bill Nelson requested. So everyone should hold hands and sing God Bless the Patriot Act when Bill Nelson leaves in shame. There's too many freedom haters out there, my friends. We all gotta put their feet to the fire. You never trust them, regardless if you praise these individuals or not. And that's how I look at things. Observe and stay vigilant. On a federal level, they say many of the Democrats have the House. One of the things they could do, they could hold the purse under Article 1, Section 7 of the U.S. Constitution. But we got the 10th Amendment, too. They're going to try to climax. Oh, let's do subpoenas on Donald Trump. We can impeach him. We'll all be free. Please. If you folks are going to buy that, then you're being duped. That's all I got to say. Enough of my digression on this matter. All right, so I'm not going to be talking anything about the elections. However, I just got this from Doug Owen from blacklistednews.com, which he hasn't been shadow banned on Twitter. And it's a good site called Mint Press News. And it's donate with no money to them and all that. And they're very open. This is meaning about the boycott, divestment, sanctions. And it's by Whitney Webb. Leaked documentary shows Israel lobby used fake sexual assault claims against BDS activists. And some pro-Israel activists have twisted efforts to give sexual assault survivors stronger voices by using fake harassment claims as ammo in their fight against Palestinian solidarity activists. And it was funny about the BDS bills and laws on the state and federal level. Senator Ted Deutsch claims he supports free speech, but if you support the BDS, you're being anti-Semitic. And this clown is back in his position. And I'm trying to figure that one out. Oh yeah, I like Ted Deutsch. He's a Democrat, but he hates the Bill of Rights. That's okay. Game of exceptionalism. And even in the state of Florida, the idiots in legislation voted for it as well. And flip-flop Rick Scott signed it. So another freedom-hating sap. Birds of a feather flock together, my friends. This is why you gotta pay attention. So it came out today. Whitney Webb reads here. As it reads, Washington, D.C., of course, a leaked Al Jazeera documentary detailing the tactics of the Israeli lobby in the United States and elsewhere has revealed that pro-Israel groups regularly invented smears, including false accusations of sexual assault, to discredit professors and students on U.S. university campuses that support equal rights for Palestinians and the boycott, divest, and sanctions movement. BDS is a nonviolent movement that seeks to use economic pressure on Israel's government so that it complies with international law, ends the military occupation of the West Bank, and halts the decades-long blockade of the Gaza Strip. In the third episode of the Al Jazeera documentary, The Lobby, which was leaked online by website Electra Intifada, focus is given to the effort of pro-Israel advocacy groups on U.S. universities, particularly the efforts of these groups to use aggressive information warfare tactics to discredit and smear activists. The documentary further reveals that these smear campaigns are incredibly fully funded to the tunes of millions of dollars and involved in coordination with the Israeli government Ministry of Strategic Affairs. Can we say foreign aid, $3 billion a year the United States sends to Israel can be used in this matter? In one instance, Bill Mullen, a professor of American Studies at Purdue University and a well-known supporter of Palestinian rights and BDS, was accused of sexual harassment in supporting terrorism and other deeds by nearly 24 anonymous web pages purporting to have been created by Mullen's former students in 2016. Mullen told Al Jazeera that within 48 hours of learning of the smear ties, he discovered that he had been created within moments of each other and appeared to be operated by the same individual or group. As the websites used the name of his daughter were to anonymously sent to his wife, Mullen told Al Jazeera that these people will do anything, they are capable of doing anything to discredit pro-Palestinian solidarity activists. This documentary further revealed that this tactic is promoted by pro-Israel campus organizations, including the Israel on Campus Coalition. For instance, ICC Executive Director Jacob Bain discussed how the anti-Israel people are targeted by groups like the ICC, who put up some anonymous websites and targeted Facebook ads that make false sexual harassment claims and other personal attacks as part of an effort to discredit them and their activism. And you can see the episode here of The Lobby. Baines then stated that this tactic is a form of psychological warfare that was modeled on General Stanley McChrystal's counterinsurgency strategy in Iraq, and that those tactics who have been working really well for us. Baines appears to have misspoken, given that McChrystal's strategy emphasizing offensive information operations was focused on Afghanistan, not Iraq. However, Baines recounted that these efforts are often very successful from his perspective, telling Al Jazeera undercover reporter that the activists targeted by smears either shut down or they spend time responding to it and investigating it, which is time they can't spend attacking Israel. Bain went on to state that ICC, which works closely with other pro-Israel university groups like Stand With Us, has a budget of $2 million for research used in smear campaigns. He further admitted that this group and the affiliates coordinate with Israel's Ministry of Strategic Affairs, which employs a large number of former agents of the Mossad. Right off of Edward Bernays' playbook, propaganda, right? The recently leaked episode of Lobby documentary shows that some pro-Israel activists have twisted efforts to give sexual assault survivors stronger voices by using fake harassment claims as ammo for their psychological warfare tactics against Palestinian solidarity activists. This use fabricated of sexual harassment smears to target pro-BDS activists threatens the recent high-profile efforts to the Me Too movement and other related activist groups who seek to help promote an environment where the experience of sexual assault survivors are more rarely accepted. It's more of the post-fact world, we could say, right? Defamation and libel as a propaganda ploy. In addition to use falsification of and smears against BDS supporters, the documentary showed evidence that employees and volunteer pro-Israel campus groups were instructed to call BDS a racist hate group and were asked to produce multimedia content such as memes that even their own employees considered to be dishonest and bigoted. Sounds like Ted Deutsch was writing this letter about BDS, right? Oh, it's anti-Semitic if you criticize Israel. Please. I didn't know when Ginos became Semites, do you? An employee of the Israel Project who was featured in the documentary, Amanda Botfeld, told Al Jazeera's undercover reporter, that much of pro-Israel advocacy work she had been asked to be made her feel uneasy and uncomfortable because it smeared Palestinian rights activists as anti-Semites and racist for criticizing Israeli government policies. Also, Palestinians aren't Semites, right? They're the only ones. Israeli people are the only ones who are Semites for thousands of years. Oh man, like a penile microphone rhetoric, can you say? Another practice that made Botfeld feel uncomfortable was the creation of multimedia content for Stand With Us that featured pictures of Palestinian kids with a knife and other images that were used to paint young Palestinians that had been killed by Israeli police and soldiers as terrorists. Botfeld opened that content when she was asked to make while working with the Israel Project was bigoted, and she was embarrassed to be associated with. Botfeld also said that one of her supervisors told her to insert the word racist in reference to BDS activism as often as possible. The fact that even employees of these pro-Israel groups are so acutely aware of the biased, bigoted nature of their response to the growth of the BDS movement underscores how these tactics are used to discourage and chill the atmosphere of debate by maligning and defaming activists and their message. It's interesting about that because you're always going to find people, if you criticize their government, they want to use that same category as being anti-Semitic. It's nothing more than a deception, a lie. Rhetorical toilet paper, I would say. Hot air. See, something like this with a boycott, divestment, sanctions movement is called freedom of speech in the United States. And many of these clowns are trying to say that it's anti-Semitic. That's a bald-faced lie. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going around hating the Israeli people as a whole, but like every form of government, they have their criminal elements or rogue entities or agents that can manipulate everybody and they can get away with it. A form of tyranny, to be exact. And I don't know, I'm very damn convinced that the Jewish people in that nation want to live in peace with their brothers and sisters that are in the Palestinians. Remember, many of these Palestinians too are Jewish as well. Jewish by faith. They're not all white, paled, and they're many complexions to have the same belief system. So how's that being anti-Semitic? It's irrelevant, to be exact. And when you got these folks going to these colleges and trying to smear them, make it backfire. You gotta ridicule those individuals that want to use the fear tactic. The more you know, the more you implement, the less you fear. And even right off of Edward Bernays' propaganda playbook, manipulate public relations. Sun Tzu, The Art of War, and many other books out there you folks need to look at how to counter these charlatans. And I remember I did share stuff about the video No Guns for Jews, how Palestine wanted to disarm the Jews in 1945, saying, we will protect you. You know who ran Palestine at the time? It was Britain. And that's one of the main reasons why I just took the cake on the down-to-earth point of view. That thing's very complex, but I can give you that aspect of the world, which I condemned. And many people hear my show understand that. Fight the slander. Put out the truth. Even to these protesters, when you're going to go out there, have merit. Don't just go in there for kicks. An informed activist is a threat to the adversaries or opposition. Cool. So I'm going to do this next one here. And came from Middle East Monitor. Israel Snowden Saudi used Israel Spyware to target Khashoggi. And this is what he had to say. U.S. whistleblower Edward Snowden yesterday claimed that Saudi Arabia used Israeli spyware to target murdered Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Addressing the conference in Tel Aviv via video link, Snowden claimed that software made by an Israeli cyber intelligence firm was used by Saudi Arabia to track and target Khashoggi in the lead up to his murder on the 2nd of October inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. Snowden told his audience, "How do they, Saudi Arabia, know what his Khashoggi plans were and that they need to act against him? This knowledge came from technology developed by NSO," Israeli Business Daily Globe reported. Snowden accused NSO of selling a digital burglary tool, adding it's not just being used for catching criminals and stopping terrorist attacks, not just for saving lives, but for making money. Such levels of recklessness actually starts costing lives, according to Jerusalem Post. Snowden made infamous in 2013 for leaking classified National Security Agency files and exposing the extent of the U.S. surveillance, added that Israel is routinely at the top of the U.S. classified threat list of hackers along with Russia and China. Even though this is an ally, Snowden is wanted in the U.S. for espionage and could not travel to Tel Aviv to address the conference in person for fear of being handed over to the authorities. Israel firms to which Snowden referred, NSO Group Technologies, is known for developing the Pegasus software, which can be used to remotely infect a target mobile phone and then relay back data accessed by this device. Although NSO claims that this product are licensed only to legitimate government agencies for the sole purpose of investigating and preventing crime and terror, it is not the first time its Pegasus software has been used by Saudi Arabia to track critics. In October, it's revealed that Saudi Arabia used Pegasus software to eavesdrop on a 27-year-old Saudi dissident, Omar Abdulaziz, a prominent critic of the Saudi government on social media. The revelation was made by Canadian research group Citizen Lab, which found that the software had been used to hack Abdulaziz's iPhone between June and August of this year. Citizens Lab director Robert Diber explained that such actions by Saudi Arabia would constitute illegal wiretapping. A separate report by Citizen Lab in September found a significant expansion of Pegasus usage in the Gulf Cooperation Council, or GCC, countries in the Middle East, in particular the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia. Citizen Lab added that in August 2016, Emirati human rights activist Ahmad Mansour was targeted with the Pegasus spyware. Snowden's comments come less than a week after it emerged as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu asked the United States to stand by the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, in the wake of the Khashoggi case. The revelation was made by the Washington Post, which cited information from U.S. officials familiar with the series of telephone conversations made to Jared Kushner, senior advisor to the President Donald Trump and Trump's son-in-law, also National Security Advisor John Bolton, regarding the Khashoggi case. Officials told the Post that in recent days, the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have reached out to Trump's administration to express support for the Crown Prince, arguing that he is an important strategic partner in the region, said people familiar with the calls. Can we say Israel, the Greater Israel Project, Bin Salman has come under intense scrutiny in the months since Khashoggi first disappeared, with many suspecting his involvement in ordering the brutal murder. Yet, while several other world leaders have shunned the Crown Prince, it is thought that Israel would suffer from any decline of Saudi Arabia in the region in the light of its purportedly central role in the upcoming deal of the century. It's interesting there. So it's a nice little claim about they using spyware. Remember, they're all part of the New World Order family, okay? These rogue elements within these particular countries. I'm not surprised at all. It's a one big cloak and dagger game, folks. That's why I'm not surprised if it's been used or not. And even too, about Khashoggi was involved, had family ties with the CIA. I talked about that in my past episodes. Looks like one thing he did, he may have ticked somebody off. So, I wouldn't be surprised one bit. Remember, friends, government is not your friend. All right, next one here. Bob Livingston came out today. The truth about Social Security. Another most important election in our lifetimes has come and gone. I've seen many of them over the years, and all of them have something in common. Politicians using Social Security to scare the people.
Yeah, no problem. My bad.
There is no different with Democrats claim that Republicans are going to cut Social Security. Retired people are very concerned about what the government will do to Social Security payments. So politicians love to use Social Security to get in office and stay in office. What is the real truth about Social Security? I'm going to tell you something you've probably never heard and never will hear if you listen only to politicians and the mainstream propaganda media, what you call the garbage stations, of course. There are three sides of Social Security. They are the government, those who pay in producers, and those who receive payment, consumers. All three have a different perspective and different goals. First, let's start with the government. The U.S. government has a serious problem with Social Security. And I hasten to add that the problem is not funding Social Security. Social Security is not funded. It has no trust fund. It will never be funded. Government payments to Social Security recipients are no different from government payments for anything else. The government simply sends computer symbols to your checking account, then spend numbers by writing them on a paper check or swiping debit card and passing them to somebody else. If you don't have any money, only imaginary numbers called money. Just about anybody you talk to is worried that Social Security will go broke. Let's settle this nonsense once and for all. The only possible way to go broke is to have substance as money, such as silver and gold, and spend it all with no way to get any more. We just agree that money is only numbers which represent absolutely nothing. How can the government run out of numbers? They can create numbers until the end of time. So, what is the serious problem that the government has with Social Security? Government is concerned with the exponential growth of the retirement population. Our economic system will collapse if our population gets too heavy with non-producing consumers. Take my word for it. So much consumption can be allowed by non-producing, consuming retired people. Modern governments are very sensitive about consumption. The reason behind it is simple. Government is the biggest consumer of all. In some poverty-stricken third world countries, government have already consumed all the national wealth. So there is no one left to produce and no one to buy if anything is produced. The bottom line is that government will not, under any circumstance, let the Social Security system outconsume the government and the productive capacity of the country. Production must balance consumption, since only so much can be produced, then it allows that only such can be consumed. Consumptions must be regulated, and that is the problem. What will the government do? The government long ago started taxing Social Security. What does taxing do? Well, the American people believe that their taxes support the government, and this is absolutely not true. Taxes of any kind have nothing to do with supporting the federal government. The federal government creates money through the central bank, aka the Federal Reserve. Yeah, we'll continue on here. Remember the numbers we discussed above. Taxing is very important because it is the process of taking some of the numbers back. Total control consumption when the government taxes your income or Social Security is cutting your consumption. The more government taxes, the more it reduces consumption. The more the government consumes, the less it will allow people to consume. So government consumption goes up and your taxes go up to cut more of your consumption. Yes, punish you for making a living. Remember, there cannot be more consumption than production, and the government is certainly not going to cut its consumption. If anything, it will just increase. So you can expect the government will tax Social Security more and more. You will hear political rumbling about taking Social Security away from the people who can afford to do without it. Also known as political parlance as the rich. Discrimination will be expanded. Next, those more fortunate who have to make an extra effort in life will be taxed more or denied altogether what they paid in. Consumption by the retired population will be cut and cut massively. The government will do what it has always done. It will engage in class warfare. It will play the have-nots against the haves. Those who have worked hard and saved. If you understand the philosophy of government and if you understand the economic system, what we just said is easy to predict and you can count on it. The cuts will come outright or through some fabricated national emergency and in other devious ways. But they will become as a monstrous government consumes the national wealth, and it will come regardless of whether your politician is a D or an R. Another way Social Security consumption will be cut by raising the age for the people to become eligible for Social Security, as is already being done. When Social Security began, people could receive benefits at age 65, but in 1985, Social Security was created. The average life expectancy was 60 years for men and 64 for women. This means far more people were paying and producing than they were receiving benefits consuming. Many producers never saw a dime of their money. This is what government prefers because it allows it to consume more. The sucking sound. Now life expectancy is 76 for men and 81 for women. So consumption is beginning to far outpace production, raising the age at which benefits are available forces produce the producers longer as and delays their ability to retire and become consumers. Train came by, of course. Social Security crisis has absolutely nothing to do with funding from the government and the politicians' viewpoint. The problem is how to reverse consumption from the fast-growing, non-producing consuming people who get Social Security. Also, the welfare medical system now consuming far more than it will be allowed in the future. The propaganda mills are already grinding about waste and inefficiency in the medical industry, and laws will be passed to cut Medicare and restrict treatment opinion options. Retired people will have to pay more and more for their medical expenses, and some will become unavailable based on age and health status death panels. Anytime the government and politicians regulate your consumption with new income taxes or Social Security taxes, their purpose is to increase government consumption. It doesn't matter which politicians are in power. It's a philosophy and the plan of modern governments that create money through central banks. Karl Marx would be extremely proud because central banking he supported under the Communist Manifesto. And that's right, my friends. So stop pointing the finger and crash right through that paradigm wall. Again and again and again. Government is never your friend. I know I've beaten the dead horse, but you know what? It has to be addressed. Because everyone wants to follow the hype, the hoopla, the political manifestation. Look at the last elections. Look at this one place up the road. They wanted Gillum. I see a big Gillum crowd looking for their Lord and Savior. I kept pretty quiet. I just went, hey, the battle of the established candidates is here. The final day. Well, as I recall reading about the 1935 Social Security Act, after the United States was under receivership, was officially bankrupt, they said Social Security is an option. Now they weasel way in to make it, quote-unquote, mandatory. Okay, folks, think about it. How's that being free? Something to look at. This is why I'm always got to vary. Never leave all your security financial eggs in one basket. I know that. So, it's one of those things, my friends. One of those things. Alright, next one here, which is pretty good news. I like this one a lot. Came out yesterday by Mike Meharry. New Hampshire Privacy Amendment passes by a huge margin. An individual's right to live free from governmental intrusion is private or personal information, is natural, essential, and inherited. And it's funny, you got 8% voted yes and 20% voted no. So the ones who vote no were on their hands and knees and go, state, I will bend over to get more respect. I want that promotion. I will do anything necessary. And I will continue on here.